Hello, I Sing. It's me again, Denosh Bennett, and I'm here with another very talented individual, happens to be a very good friend of mine from back in the day, Mr. Rhett George. Say hello to our I Sing viewers and subscribers.
Hello.
He has been so kind to join us and talk to us about his Broadway experience. I obviously know you, but I'd love to introduce you some more. Tell us where you're from and what you do and who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Rhett George. I'm from Toronto, Canada. That's where I first met Denosh.
Yes, and we'll talk about that after.
Yeah. I got into Broadway from basically just I wanted to sing, and one day I was auditioning for a show called Aida, an opera. That was.
I forgot, you did Aida too? Or you just auditioned?
No, I did Aida, but
I can't.
There was like an opera Aida.
Oh,
yeah. So
that's actually really
it was
interesting.
at the Randolph studio.
Oh, okay, George Randolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to train with him back in the day. Wow, okay.
So there was like a dance call for that.
Okay.
So I was going for that, but the same day there was a long line for a musical called Rent.
And
I just said, well, I'm going to audition.
Wow.
And I got it, and then that's how I started my Broadway
career.
Doing 8 shows. I didn't know anything about 8 shows a week. I didn't know anything about. I was a swing, which meaning I was covering like 5 guys. Did not know what that meant.
That's amazing.
So that's how I kind of started, because my parents didn't really raise me on going to see Joseph at anywhere.
Right, like we're raised in Toronto. I remember there's an amazing theater scene, like everything downtown on King Street, even on North York Performing Arts Center or whatever it's called. I remember the first musical I auditioned for was okay, that's dry. What is it? I got written. No, that's not it. Dry. We'll come back to that. But I remember, and I was like in my late teens auditioning, and I didn't get it. My right leg, I just couldn't get that right leg up.
Okay.
And for Stephanie Gorin, she was such a lovely woman because she just kept calling me for different things.
Right.
But that is so amazing. I want to get into more of that. But yes, you are from Toronto, and we're now here in Los Angeles, California. How long have you been here?
I've been here for about a year.
Okay.
I moved last February.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my God, how has it already been a year?
It's been a year.
That's insane.
February the
and
1st
how
of the year.
And so you came from New York.
Yes.
So there's Toronto, New York, LA. Which is kind of it's like a natural.
Yeah, and it was time. I feel like I've always looked at myself as like, you gotta like try different things. I didn't want to get stuck.
Right.
It was just time. It's just time to try something new and see what happens.
Tell me, so you started this whole journey, like you started dancing and singing and acting or whatever.
Yeah,
from a young age.
Pretty much dancing, and I was singing at a young age, and I did a lot of dance competitions and then.
Okay.
But I always knew that I wanted to do more than just dance.
Right.
Because I was always singing, but I had fun dancing and I was doing well. But I always knew that I wanted to do more than just dance. So
I remember when I met you. I forgot. So there's this place called Canada's Wonderland, which kind of like Six Flags. I'm not sure what the theme parks are in the UK, but there's a theme park where you have the entertainment and it's like da 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 jazz. It's like jazz, dancing, everything. Oh snap!
Yeah.
But I didn't know that you sang, and then I remember when we did Blues. Was it Blues Brothers?
Yeah. Blues Brothers. Yeah, 2000. Blues Brothers 2000.
And we were dancing, and we were all hired as dancers, and you have your own set, and you have a ton of time, and you're just gallivanting, acting a fool. And I remember you sang for me, or you were singing, and you were doing runs, like runs for life. And my mind was blown. I was just like, my God, you're this amazing dancer with incredible technique, and you just happened to sing. But you weren't actually working as a professional singer at that time.
No.
Dancing was your bread and butter.
Yeah, that's what I was,
And so you're a trained dancer. Did you have vocal training when you were younger?
Yeah, I went to like a couple of studios, but I felt like sometimes they would try to change my voice. Like even my dance teachers would embrace You know what I mean? There's technique, but
right.
they would give me freedom to do it. I think that's what I thank my teachers for. But with the vocal teachers, some of them said, okay, well, you know, maybe you should come back when your voice matures, or they're trying to get me to sing a certain way.
Wow.
So I just took what I
they
could
didn't
from
really
them.
meet you where you were.
Yeah. But my mom's a singer, you know, she's not trained.
Right,
but she sang in the Caribbean. But, you know.
Of course.
I think you know, you just sing from your heart.
You just sing, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go to this transition from Toronto to New York. You had you said that you had some sort of theater experience, musical stuff, and that happened for you in Toronto as well?
Yeah, I ended up doing Rent for about almost a year. And then after that, I ended up getting Fame, the musical. And
is that what brought you to New York?
Well, yeah, because it was a U.S. tour.
Oh,
so
wow.
We rehearsed in New York. That was my first time ever coming to New York. I don't think I'd ever been to New York before that.
And so many people, you know, that's like been my dream when I was a kid. I just saw, and we'll talk about another thing. But I would watch TV, and I didn't actually know anything about LA. I just knew New York, you know, and Broadway, and you hear about it, and you see, you know, I grew up watching musicals, and they're I'm a musical geek.
Yeah.
So many people dream about that. Like for you had this opportunity because a lot of people don't know how to do it. They pack their bags and you know they show up. You know that famous. You're familiar with Singing in the Rain?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's that scene where Gene Kelly, the Broadway melodies, and he's like the little whatever guy, and he has a suitcase and he's all like nerdy, and he goes from wherever he's from, this small town and he has this whole scene where everyone's slamming doors in his face, and he finally makes it and gets an agent. And so you had a little bit of a different path. Not that you didn't audition, but you then got Fame, and it brought you to... Yeah,
but then it brought me there, so it opened my mind up to, wow, because we rehearsed I can possibly get, you know, build a career here, but then I ended up going back to Toronto for a year.
Oh,
and
okay.
I did Lion King.
Oh, okay.
And then... I always tell
people... So wait, sorry, I want to tally off so we're not missing anything. Aida, Rent, Fame, Lion King, right?
Well,
Well,
it was Rent, Lion King. No, Rent, Fame, Lion King.
Okay, so you're listing off like some of the biggest, Tony Awards, just crazy. That's just insane. I know you, and I'm kind of geeked right now. So other than being Canadian Caribbean, we have a couple things in common.
Okay.
So you were in Fame.
Yeah.
I love Fame. Awesome. I grew up watching Fame. I actually worked, the first tour that I did here or in the US was with Debbie Allen.
Okay,
who,
yes.
That's who I wanted to be. Let's see. You were in the Heights as well.
I did that last year.
I auditioned and didn't get it.
You should have.
Yeah. My legs, it wasn't even cute. Let's see. You were in Wicked. Were you in Wicked?
Original cast.
I read the book.
You read the book?
I read the book. Well, I haven't seen the show, which is embarrassing because I've had so many friends who've been in it. But it's an amazing book, and it's actually here in LA now, so I'm dying to go see it.
Yes, I've heard.
Let's see if we have anything else in common. Oh, sidebar, you've also danced in movies.
Yeah.
Glitter, Mariah Carey. I toured with Mariah Carey as well. So yeah, I just wanted to, know that as much as we still haven't seen each other, we're very connected. We're very much connected. So you did. We'll get serious now. And actually, no. Before we do that, am I missing anything?
As far as
musicals, what else am I missing? I know I am.
I don't like to
list. We have to list because, our viewers want to know. This is about careers and working singers. That's just one thing, and we'll get into the triple threat thing in a minute. But that is a huge thing. Like, people want to know what's possible. This is not a brag session. Okay. You have this is like the safe zone. It's just tell us what you've done, really.
Okay. Well, and I tell this story to people all the time because when I look back and think about, I was in the Lion King in Toronto, and I was like, okay, what's my next step?
Right.
And I was young. I was just like, I don't know what to do. Do I, and there was a newspaper called Backstage. They still have now.
Yeah. Did they have that in Toronto?
Yeah. Well, I think I looked online.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because I remember going to New York and getting the Backstage.
Right.
And, yeah.
So I looked online and I saw an open call for Aida.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I'm not going to name any names. But
right.
There's people that will. It's just funny how people will tell you no. Like even when I was in The Lion King, I was trying to sing and I was trying to do demos, but I didn't really know anybody to do that because my background was more like
dance. Of course, they didn't want to believe that you could be that great. I know it well.
So I remember one guy, not gonna name any names, and I know he had a good heart. I know he had his heart, but I remember going to his house and he was like, "Okay, we were gonna do some tracks together, you know." And then he was like, and I said, "I'm thinking of moving to New York," and he was like, "Why go to New York? You shouldn't go. You should go to You're going to be a small fish in a big pond. Whereas if you're staying in Toronto, you'll be
a big fish in a small pond."
And I was like, I didn't agree. I was like, no, I gotta still go for it. You know. So then, same thing going back to The Lion King. There was I had done a show with Wayne Salento, who actually choreographed Aida.
Okay.
And he was doing a Fosse special in Toronto of Cynthia Dale. She was like a TV person for like almost like a Law and Order equivalent. And so I worked with him already, so he knew me, but I lived in Toronto. I didn't have any, I didn't really know what else he was doing. But his assistant came to see The Lion King, and I went up to her and I asked her, I said, they're having auditions for your because she was in the show in Aida.
Oh, okay.
So the show was running.
Right.
So I asked her, I said, I saw you guys having auditions in Backstage.
Right.
Should I go? And she said, no, don't go. We're not looking for anyone.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And she just shut me down.
Right.
And something said, Rhett,
go.
And
just go.
Called out Lion King and I took a train. It was like $120 all day. When you take the train from Toronto to New York.
Yes, it's morning, you get there at night. That's why I used to take the bus. I used to go to the Greyhound, the midnight bus, so you get there first thing in the morning.
Right.
yeah.
And I went and I kept getting, every weekend I got 3 callbacks and that's how I got the job. Just by going.
Wow.
Okay. And I
love
every
that.
Weekend. So if I'd listened to her and just said, okay, well, I guess I'm looking for
You've been drying
anybody.
up in Toronto. No, I mean, you'd still be, but you'd still be, I mean, obviously, it would have taken, it could have taken a completely different path.
Different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I just went and then that's how I really got into Broadway because of that one show. And then Wayne also choreographed Wicked.
Right.
So it's really important that when you do shows or if you really have a dream, you always have to like have a good rapport with people, work hard. And because they'll go, okay, because you can be talented out the wazoo, but if you're a horrible person to work with or you get drama, you're not gonna,
So well, that's kind of how when I did a movie, which we won't name, but whatever. But with a very brilliant choreographer, Jerry Mitchell. And so I did the dance audition, whatever. I ended up being part of like his skeleton crew. We did the movie, it was awesome, and then through that, I actually ended up talking to him because I knew that he did musicals. I knew that he'd done like a bunch of stuff, and he's just a big old fun sweetheart. And but just by being good, being on time, being personable, I let him know. I was like, I sang and and long story short, he ended up asking for me to come and audition for Hairspray, and that's how I ended up. So it's that same thing where you do one job, and that goes across the board with anything. But I mean, that's amazing that's. So you did. So Wicked came after that.
Yeah, okay. Wicked came after that, and then I ended up doing another show with Wayne, Sweet Charity, with Christina Applegate.
Oh, you did
Yeah.
Oh, just Christina.
So did that after that, and then God is good because Sweet Charity closed, and then right when it was closing, Wicked said your track opened up again. So I did Wicked for another 8 months.
Wow. And was this in New York or was this a tour? Okay.
And then after Wicked, I went on to do the Color Purple tour.
I can't.
And we toured.
I had all those DVDs. I should have just brought them and just as he named them.
So that was fun. And then after the Color Purple, I did Little Mermaid for about 8 months and closed that. Came back to New York and did that. And then during Little Mermaid, I ended up getting a show called Memphis, which won Best Musical, a Tony Award in 2010.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, that was fun because I always wanted to be a part of a musical that won all the hoopla.
Right,
and that was that year.
Right.
Memphis was the...
They're actually in London now. Well,
yes.
I don't know if that company, because a friend of mine he's a trombone player, and he's going to be dapping or subbing out, doing some stuff on that. He just told me about that, so yeah, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. Wow. And so was that...
That was pretty much the last musical that I did, because I ended up going on tour.
I was going to say, why was it the last?
Why was it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, you've had such a successful run. Why?
Well, because I felt like Memphis was a hard show physically, and
on your body,
on my body.
So you're getting older.
I'm getting older. It was getting hard, even on the voice. There's a lot of singing.
Right.
I covered a lot of people. So when I
and you had a role, but you also on Broadway. Probably plenty of you guys know this, but you always understudy someone just in case. Yeah. And you have an understudy as well.
Right.
And
I understudied like 3 major guys.
Wow, okay.
And I went on for them all the time. Thank you to the producers.
Right, amen.
Yeah, but I think it kind of tired me out. So, doing that show for almost 4 years, I was like, okay, do I go back to New York and just, I think it just changed. Just growing up and just like, now it's time to make another transition to something. So I was like, I'm moving to LA.
So okay, and we'll get to that. I love to just roll, but I do have some very important things that I want to ask you. You brought this point very, very well together. You talked about it being hard on your voice. I know that was Memphis in particular. When I met you, obviously, and you had an experience early on in your career where people didn't give you the credit of being a valid singer because you were a dancer. Mm-hmm. They hadn't probably seen you in that role. They were just like, meh.
Yeah.
Stick to what you know.
Yeah.
But likewise, and we'll get into this, I'll ask you about this, but your vocal style. I mean, you grew up singing probably like gospel, R&B, soul, like we all did, kind of. It's, and you also wanted to be a recording artist. That's what you were working on.
Yeah.
What was that transition like for you vocally to go from that style of singing to then more Broadway style, if you will?
Yeah. It was hard because there are people that go to school from a young age to train their voice, to study that, and my voice wasn't really trained for Broadway.
No.
So, it's all, like, especially during Rent, like, okay, it's all fine and dandy to audition. Like, I had like 5 callbacks for Rent, and it's great.
Right, it's one song.
You go and you go up.
Yeah.
But then when I was in it, and I was rehearsing like different harmonies,
right?
Tenor and then baritone and then bass or whatever, and singing 8 shows a week.
Right.
By Thursday,
right.
My voice would start giving out.
Right.
So I had to start taking lessons because essentially I wasn't breathing and I wasn't singing correctly.
Wow.
So I had to I think at a young age I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. So I think I asked the stage manager to hook me up with like a vocal and not to give me a style how to sing, just like techniques to warm my voice up.
Yeah. So up until this point you didn't have the basic.
I would just sing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many. Even I remember running into a problem where I was trying to do 2 45-minute sets downtown Toronto, and I couldn't get through them. And I didn't develop nodules, but I remember going to an ENT, and I had developed just a lot of irritation. They're like, well, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to develop that callus. So thank God I dodged that bullet. But it's so, especially with a lot of people who just grow up either in the church or just singing, or it doesn't matter. You just grow up singing just because it's what you love to do.
Yeah.
Some people's voices, or some people tend to have habits where they can run into trouble. And then especially going into a style of, for Broadway, I mean, like you said, it's 8 shows a week.
8 shows a week.
You get 1 day off, your Monday, dark day, and you're full out.
It's full out.
You're full out.
Because you have to reach the back, you have to reach
you have that one little dinky mic, but it's not for nothing. It's really, it's a whole other, a whole other way of singing.
And depending on the show, it's a lot of singing, and especially if you're in the ensemble,
right,
you're essentially probably singing more
all the time. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember we did Hairspray. I was backstage all the time. We'd be like, clowning, still singing, but it was, you run backstage and you're changing and you're still singing. Yeah. There was no stopping. Yeah. There was no breaks. And then really the only day, and then I tried to have a social life. Did you have much of a social life?
I mean,
you did, but...
Did. And when you're young, you're a little bit more...
careless.
Yeah, and you could sustain more beat up.
More trauma. So do you feel like you've learned, was that helpful for you, going to that coach, getting those techniques and that?
Yeah, and also even just learning and watching other people in the show.
Right.
Like the older ones, I would look at them, I would see how they would breathe, I would see what they would do backstage. I would, that's why I got my tricks to get tea. Everything you just kind of learn by watching.
Yeah. Was there any, so you never ended up running into any vocal trouble?
Just I've always had chronic allergies as a kid.
Okay, so...
had my adenoids taken out, had my tonsils taken out.
Yeah.
So there's always been, I've always dealt with singing through allergies and singing through stuffy noses and stuff. But I think there was a couple of times it was just strained, but never
nothing serious problem. Well, that's great because again, it's a very different style of singing.
Yeah.
And the type of stamina and endurance and, like you said, technique. How to... Just like you said, simple things. I had a vocal injury, pretty much not because I was really singing wrong, but I just wasn't warming up.
And I just wasn't warming up.
Absolutely,
it can happen to anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was sadly we were doing the 10th anniversary? No, maybe yeah. A revival at Hollywood Bowl. Every summer they do a musical revival. And so this was 8 different versions, different casts of the show. And we were doing it at Hollywood Bowl, and we had no time to learn one version of the show. And it was full on, and we were every morning just top of our lungs. Vocals were first thing in the morning. Right. So I'm barely waking up. I lived around the corner. I was barely waking up, definitely not warming up, and going straight into high, just high belts. And by the end of the week, I had hemorrhaged on my vocal cords.
I did have a hemorrhage. I'm sorry.
Oh, you did have a vocal hemorrhage.
Never experienced it before. In the Heights.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what it is or hasn't had one, it doesn't actually hurt. There's not blood gushing out of your throat or anything, but it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So tell me in your best description what the difference between your style or a pop R&B style and a Broadway voice.
I feel Broadway singing, it depends, because I feel now, the more traditional musicals,
right? It's
just broader, it's just grander. Whereas pop singing, you can be more, it's almost like a film. You can be more softer to get your story across. It's not so, but I feel for Broadway, you have to enunciate more.
Okay.
You can get away with, in pop music, you hear many songs, you're what did they say about how it sounds?
Right.
But Broadway, you have to enunciate, you have to get every word out. You have to it's more, it's more grand.
Yeah.
And that's why people sometimes have a problem, I guess, with Broadway singers trying to do pop music or doing pop records, because they're saying it's too big.
That's a very, actually, I was gonna write about this, and I'm glad you actually brought it up because, and I'm sure these aren't the only 3, but Heather Headley, Matthew Morrison, that's another one who I recently just bumped into. We did Hairspray together for the short time that I was there. Idina Menzel, who everybody knows. All transitions from, and not that this was necessarily their start.
Right.
A lot of them had roots in pop and R&B and jazz and doing things before, and then they got into theater, and then they developed this sort of more theatrical voice. Do you think that could have had an effect on the kind of records that they, that for their own solo success, that would have an effect? As you say, now, it's it's so broad, it's so grand, it's not the typical vocal style.
Yeah.
It's
just...
It's a good point.
I mean, it's a good point, and I feel it's just anything. If you're on Broadway and you're getting used to singing a certain way, it could sometimes translate on the record just because of how you're used to singing. So it's just a matter of what people like.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, I do backing vocals for a lot of different artists, so I'm switching genres quite often, and it's great because I have that flexibility. But sometimes, when I'm in my R&B, my runs are tight and da 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 da, and then when I'm in my more pop rock world, I was a little more vocal compression is a little more happening, and it's or pop, it's a little more straight. Well, now actually a lot of the pop girls are doing all those runs and stuff anyway. So, but it is true. You know, if you're in a certain vocal style for a while, you can get locked into that if you don't find your way, way around that. Do you think that that's hard to do? Do you think it's hard for anybody? I always encourage diversity. Obviously, you're a triple threat, so you have the ability you started off as a dancer, you used all three, dancer, actor, singer. Now you're focusing mostly on acting and singing. Do you find that it's would you recommend that encourage people to go this path? Or do you think it's possible for anyone to just go on Broadway? Obviously to be talented, but as far as developing the skills and the technique for a Broadway career, do you think that it's possible?
Yeah, I think it's 100% possible. I think you just have to have the mindset, and you just have to have the focus, and if you have the talent and there's plenty, I mean, personally, there's lots of people on Broadway that, to me, I'm not going to knock their path and their journey. Right. But sometimes I've been with people and I'm a question like, what are you doing?
You can do, right.
What are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people on Broadway don't care, but they got there, and not to say that they're the most talented, but they have something that they bring to the table. So who am I to knock them? But so anybody can get there.
Absolutely. Quick question, fun stuff. What was your favorite musical?
I loved Aida.
Okay.
Because I just thought it was beautiful, and I thought the songs were beautiful by Elton John, and and I was blessed to see Heather Headley do it, or I did it with her. Right. And I think she left 6 months later, so I got a good time to work with her, and she would sing the hell out of that music every night. Yeah. So.
What was your most challenging? Well, you said Memphis, both and on the body too.
Yeah, Sergio Trujillo is a choreographer, and he loves dance. And I did Little Mermaid before that, but Little Mermaid was the first real. It was probably the easiest track I've ever done. I was pretty much a fish and I hit the deck maybe 4 or 5 times, and when I did hit the deck, I was in a pod. There were 4 singers, so it was pretty much a singer track, and I didn't move, so I gained 20 pounds in 8 months. Wow! Because I was eating it every time I hit the deck. I was singing Under the Sea. And Kiss the Willow in a pod.
Oh my God!
So I got fat, right?
Well, it's alright. You look amazing. And you're not dancing now.
I'm not dancing, but I have to really I'm trying to get in the gym.
I know. I stopped dancing officially. I was just like, oh, gotta get that gym membership.
What was the...
I was just asking you the most challenging you're doing.
Because Memphis was ball there was at least maybe 12 dance numbers in there. Wow. Yeah. And then we were singing on top of it. It was a rock and roll show, so it was and R&B.
Did you feel, after you did this, did you feel stronger as a performer? I remember I came off of Broadway, I was like, I can sing anything. I was just like...
Definitely.
And I was loud too. I was really loud. I could project. It really taught me how to sing from my gut and project. So
and I feel like if you can sing Broadway, it's always good to go from here, and if somebody directs you to bring it down,
you can do that.
You can do that.
You can do that.
So you just become completely versatile with your voice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you also did the cast recordings, the albums for a lot of these shows as well. And that's a huge part of the process.
Of a new musical.
You have a new musical if you're part of that cast, the first cast. You then go into the studio. Is this after the rehearsals and before the show, and you record? Yeah. Do you sing with the same sort of intensity?
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes it's even more, because now they can really zone in and hear everybody and hear all the harmonies and hear all the consonants and everything. So, and it's for the record, it's forever. So they really
And did they have everybody sort of singing at one time?
They'll probably put tenors.
Oh yeah, of course. And you guys are just singing.
Yeah, and we just sing, and then if you have solo lines, they'll probably have another mic in another booth. With the principals, when we did Wicked, Adina was in one booth and Kristen Chenoweth was in another, and we were over, so we can see them and we can hear them.
No, just names. I'm kidding. So there's definitely a theater culture, you know, of people that frequent, you know, that's what they do. And even if you're just on holiday or, actually Vegas, I forgot Vegas, has a lot of shows.
And I think it's getting bigger now.
Yeah.
Thanks to Glee and thanks to just like, now they're doing like NBC, you know, doing those, like they did Peter Pan, they did Sound of Music.
Right, they're doing more, yeah. So I mean, I'm a big fan, and I hope one day I've been taking dance class, and I'm just trying to get my muscles back, but I need the right show. Like, Hairspray for me was the right show. I need another show that doesn't require a leg. Need a leg, but it was like, for me it was the right show, because like the dance style, like I said, even, you know, the singing style wasn't such a huge departure from what I did, because it was all the soul, you know, we were the Dynamites, it was all the soulful stuff of the 60s, like the Supremes and whatnot, so that was kind of, you know, not very far from what I had grown up singing with, but I'm glad that musicals are making a you know, coming back to the forefront, and especially on TV, and you know, maybe not so much in film, but that they're staying alive. So anyway, so tell me, where you're here now in LA, and you are now focusing on acting and singing. So this is another extension of his triple threatness. What are your plans for the future?
Well, I just want to, I mean, when people ask me that question, I was like, I need to be honest, say what you want, you know what I mean? I want to be in movies. I've always wanted to be in movies, but, you know, I just need to know when the time, you know, you have to, I didn't want to come to LA come here with nothing. Right, with no plan, with no experience or anything. So even when I got off the tour with Memphis, I did In the Heights in Philly, and then I did a show in San Jose at the San Jose Rep. That kind of brought me to California, and I was like, I'm just gonna come here and audition and you know, just.
Are you training? Are you?
Yeah, I've been taking acting class. I'm not taking any more. You know, I took about 4 or 5 months when I first got here. Right. And then.
And do you have an agent out here?
And you know, I tried to set that up before. When I knew I was gonna move out here, I called up a couple of friends that had agents. So one of my friends, she set me up with Daniel Hoff Agency. And then we spoke on the phone, so I kind of got him before I even met him. Right. And then when I got here, he was like, okay, well, and what was new to me is that everything is separate. So when you have a commercial agent, theatrical agent, you have a dance agent. So he was like, do you want me to get you a commercial agent meeting? But this was in the same agency. Right. And I was like, different department. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? Right. He's like, well, you have to audition for the commercial agent in our agency. Yeah. So I did that, and I got, you know, I was blessed to get picked up, you know, so. Yeah, and I'm just. And what about music? What about your voice? Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to. Voice. You know, when you have released projects already, right? Yeah, I did 2 CDs on my own. Right. You know, I sold like 300 in Japan on CD Baby. That's amazing. You know, that was just fun. Right. You know. Just a song. And when I went on tour with Memphis, I did purposely another CD with like 8 songs, and I sold it. So you had something to sling when you was on the road. So I would sell them on the road, Very important. Yep. And I'm just, you know, I just kind of, what's it called? I'm just trying to find producers. You just, you know, every day. And I did R&B Live. I performed twice on R&B Live. They did in Studio City. There's a lot of good live stuff here I could put you onto as well. Okay. You know. It's interesting because when you do move to a big city, you kind of have your focus and you're like, ga, 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 ga. So it's great now that you've got your agent. Yeah. Did you, really quickly to backtrack, did you have an agent who was your agent to get you for Broadway stuff? Or was it just all casting directors who knew you from this and referrals and sort of thing? Yeah, when I first moved to New York, I didn't have an agent. Because I just you were the show. Yeah. And then I think I got an agent like a couple of years in. Okay. And I got an agent through there, but sometimes you can just. I have friends that have done like 10 Broadway shows with no agent, because once the casting people know you, they're just gonna call you. Yeah, that's like with Telsey, they would call me. Exactly. And then in Toronto. Yeah. Stephanie Gordon. And if you're that fly, you can negotiate yourself. Right. I could never. I don't think I have the balls to. Right. But some of the contracts are standard, like for ensemble stuff. Right. You're not. It's like this is the fee. This is it. You know. But yeah. Wow. Well, I'm excited for what is to come. I'm excited that you're
living here now, so we can actually have a relationship.
Yes.
We could be friends. You actually live around the corner. Yeah. Even though I am going on the road, but I'll be back. But I wish you all the, even more success. You've had such an amazing path, and you have such a testimony and a great story to share with people. And thank you so much for joining us and telling us your journey, especially with your experiences on Broadway. I hope that, what he's shared with us has been helpful and insightful, and I hope that it's inspiring. It's inspiring me. I'll be in ballet class in the morning. Are you on Facebook,
yes.
Website?
I have a website, rhettgeorge.com. On Facebook under Rhett George.
Okay. So we can just follow and support and keep up, and all those links and everything will be included in the article. So thank you so much again
Thank you.
I love you. I'm so proud of you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ciao.